Okay, this is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today we're going to talk about commercial real estate assessment challenge, a case study. This is a pending assessment matter. Um, Basically, it's a restaurant that has been closed for 5 years. The building's only 9 years old, but the restaurant failed, and it failed even before the coronavirus, but also the advent of the uh, coronavirus, basically helped keep it down as restaurants were going out of business left and right. Doesn't make sense to add another restaurant, particularly one that already failed. But it was a new building in 2013. But the assessor has the thing assessed at 1.87 million. The assessment hasn't changed in many years, and so it's being assessed as if it's an ongoing operation. It's being assessed. This property is off the main drag. It's kind of behind all the other restaurants, so it doesn't get street traffic. You'd have to know that it's there in order to get there, and you wouldn't just drive by it and see the sign, like you would at a McDonald's, or in this case, Tully's is a known restaurant that gets street traffic. And so the property had recently sold for $320,000, and it's assessed for 1.87 million fair market value. It sold just before the end of the year, and the buyer paid the back taxes on it and is looking to repurpose the property, perhaps as a restaurant. We will see, but anyway, when the property sells at $320,000, what should it be assessed for? Assessments are supposed to be based on fair market value. The sale was not 100% arm's length, although it had been on the market for 4 years, and with several brokers, including an auction process, and it didn't sell. And there had been some interest at 700 and 900,000, but the deals didn't go through. Another party was interested at, say, 550, but that didn't go through either. They had been asking for $2 million, but that didn't work. So then they did an auction process. They were hoping the thing would bid up and maybe they could get their money back out of it, but it just wasn't going to happen in this environment. So the valuation date is January 1st. The condition as of January 1st, 2022. The sale was at December 17th, 2021. I got involved in it late in the game. It was still the holiday season, and so I wasn't able to be in touch with the assessor until after the 1st. I spoke to the assessor and basically they say after January 1st you have to take it to the Board of Assessment Review. They weren't willing to address it. And I understand that after at that time frame, they get extremely busy because, this is the time when everybody challenges their taxes. So they want people, if they want to discuss it with the assessor, to do it before the 1st. So I understand that, but that's more of a policy issue. When there's, an obvious situation such as this, I thought it should behoove them to take a look at it. But they didn't want to do it, and I get it, but it's just when you have over 41,000 properties to value, you just can't stop what you're doing, and be at everybody's beck and call. It's just not a practical thing to do, and I get it, but the thing is, we have a it's not just a marginal case here. This is an egregious case. There's a big gap between the $320,000 sales price and $1.87 million. So anyway, so we had to schedule a hearing with the Board of Assessment Review, and my experience told me that if we didn't get an appraisal, my opinion as a broker of value likely would not be taken seriously. So we ordered an appraisal, and the appraisal came in at $1.2 million, notwithstanding to this billboard you see here in the pictures. The billboard is owned, or the property that the billboard is on is part of this property. But the billboard is owned by another party, and the owners of this property get no revenue from that sign. But it's part of the taxes, and the city is attributing somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000, maybe more, towards the assessment on this. And what it is it's an adverse easement, and so it impacts a sale. It could stigmatize a sale. It creates legal ramifications that could preclude a sale, and so it actually impacts assessment negatively, not positively, because there is no revenue. And we argued that at the Board of Assessment Review, and they were hearing what we were saying, but basically I think what I gathered was that they said that's our problem, not theirs. And well, the thing is that if this is based on fair market value, then it is their problem because it negatively impacts fair market value. So I mean, they are applying values to signs as a methodology for being consistent about how they do their valuations. But that has nothing to do with fair market value. That's just the methodology to make their assessment approach uniform and make it easier to manage, as their job. But the thing is that this isn't about making the assessor's job easier. It's about getting to fair market value. And so, so the matter is pending, and so they have to think about that, and we'll see what it is that they do, so anyway, we went to the Board of Assessment Review, and we explained the situation. The parking lot is going to need to be resurfaced. The restaurant failed. It's going to have to, if it's going to function as a restaurant, it's going to have to be rebranded. It's been sitting there, a lot of the, ketchup bottles and, those kinds of things have been sitting there for 5 years. So the health department's going to have to go through that kitchen with very carefully, and they're going to have to, redo it. And, in order for it to pass the health code, but also to retheme the restaurant, and that's going to cost money, and so that impacts value. But again, they're comparing it to properties that are on the boulevard, and this is not on the boulevard, so it should not be compared to the properties that get street traffic. It should not be compared to fully operational, successful businesses. And also, some of those businesses have a lot more parking than this does. And the parking lot here needs to be resurfaced. So anyway, we're making an argument that we think that any reasonable person would conclude that we are correct. We didn't ask for the assessment to be reduced down to $320,000. We asked for it to be reduced to $800,000, and if the restaurant gets back online and is successful once again, and is repurposed, then it should be reassessed at that time. But in the meantime, we'd like it to be assessed for what it is, not what it was and not what it could be, but actually what it is, because that's what assessments are based on. They're based on the fair market value as of the valuation date. and the fair market value and the condition of this property as of the valuation date is problematic because it is uh, a vacant, non-functional, deteriorating building. The business is completely out of business. So anyway, that's the argument we made to the Board of Assessment Review. We provided the appraisal, and we'll see what it is that they do, and then we'll have the next level of appeal would be state Supreme Court if it becomes necessary. If it is, we'll have to file and see if we can get them to negotiate. If not, then it'll proceed through state Supreme Court, and we'll likely have to get a court-ready appraisal, and but hopefully the Board of Assessment Review, will understand the what's going on and make a proper adjustment. But that's the that's the situation. Basically, just analyzed the property, found out all the challenges that the property had. Initially, the owner wasn't even aware of the ramifications of that billboard, and so we had to bring it up. But basically, we documented the property and demonstrated to any reasonable person that 1.87 million is just simply not appropriate for this property, and that the assessor had not changed the assessor since way before the property went out of business. And they just kept the assessment. I mean, this thing should have been challenged 4 years ago. It was way off 4 years ago. So anyway, that's the process. It's before the Board of Assessment Review. What I found to be interesting about the Board of Assessment Review, apparently there's a new director, and he is an attorney, and he worked for Pomeroy Appraisal, and so he has experience in the area, and we'll be interested to see how he approaches this, if he's going to try to just get to the right figure and do what's right, or what it is that he's going to do. At the Board of Assessment Review, it's supposed to be a separate level of appeal, but there was interaction between the Board of Assessment Review and the assessor, which kind of led me to believe that perhaps it wasn't a completely separate level of appeal. That was kind of concerning. But because the assessor's office, they had their opportunity to review the property, and they didn't do it, and so we had to go before the Board of Assessment Review, and so now all of a sudden the assessor's office wants to be involved in it. I just felt that they should have been involved in it before, but I did contact the economic development people and ask them to look into it and to see what we can do to help these people get this thing back online and employing people. It used to employ 80 or 90 people, and it hasn't employed anybody for the last 4 or 5 years. And so, I think it would behoove the city to, cooperate with these people to get this thing back online, whether it be as a restaurant or have the building repurposed to some other use that might be more appropriate in these economic conditions than a restaurant, because it failed even before COVID, and I don't know if we need more restaurants at this juncture. But anyway, the other thing about the Board of Assessment Review hearing is that they had a lot of requirements. They asked us for all kinds of financial data and so on and so forth. A lot of which is proprietary. They're asking for income and expense data. Well, there isn't any income. There is only expense. An income valuation would come out negative. Also, what they did was, they asked us to provide all of this information, but we get to the Board of Assessment Review, and none of the members of the Board of Assessment Review had copies of the materials that we provided. So they never had a chance to read our appraisal. They never had an opportunity to read the arguments. So they were hearing everything for the first time, at the hearing. And that was kind of discouraging because, my client had to pay for that appraisal. And, we put a lot of, time and effort into doing this. And it just didn't seem as though, they were prepared, for the hearing. And that was disappointing. But, hopefully they'll take the time to review our materials, after the fact. That would be, good if they did that. But I just, I think any reasonable person would conclude that a very significant adjustment needs to be made in this case. But that's pretty much how it works with a commercial assessment challenge. In this case, it's a restaurant, but it could be a medical building. When they are rented office space, they do income valuation, and the valuation would be done in a different way. And it just depends on the property and the property classification. This one was classified as a 421 restaurant, and there was some debate. It hasn't been a restaurant in 5 years, and the assessor piped up that that they are not going to or they're not going to accept an argument that says that this is not a 421 restaurant. And to me, it's kind of semantical. What classification? It's out of business. It hasn't been in business. So what's really relevant isn't what classification you make it, because we don't know what it's going to be. And the last thing it was a restaurant. So, that is the most, logical, because what else would you call it? But the fact of the matter is that no matter what you call it, the inventory that they have on it is incorrect. They are saying that the location desirability is a 1. It is not a 1. It is not a 1. The inventory says that the condition is good, and the condition is not good. It needs to be completely repurposed. The driveway needs to be resealed. The restaurant needs to be rebuilt and rethemed. It is not good. And so, so that's the issue with the, their assessment. And the inventory has not changed in years. The assessment has not changed in years. So essentially, I think it's an indication that no assessment, no valuation, has been done. They're just assuming that it's like other operational restaurants, and it's not like that. So, anyway, it sold for $320,000. It is a nice building that can be repurposed. We didn't think it would be appropriate to ask for $320,000. It's a viable argument, but we didn't think that was a realistic thing to ask for. So we asked for $800,000 because we had interest at $700,000 and $900,000, and they both fell through. But thought, well, there was interest there. That seems like a reasonable figure, and so that's what we went with. And we'll see what it is that they do. Hopefully they'll do the right thing, and hopefully we can get this thing back online and employing people. This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy. 315-876-2262. Thank you.